We value the freedom to associate. We need to preserve and protect the right in America to disassociate.
Last month, Michigan became the 24th right-to-work state in the nation. Today, we're joined by businessman and entrepreneur Dick DeVos, a former candidate for governor in the state. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
So let's begin. How did this happen in Michigan, of all places, the birthplace of big labor?
Well, that's what a lot of people are asking. But it was a confluence of so many different events. Certainly, events in Wisconsin, followed by Indiana becoming a freedom to work state. The continued decline of the union movement in the state and nationally. A legislature and a governor who are willing to step up and lead and who saw this as a really important freedom issue in Michigan. A whole bunch of factors that came together and then culminated by the union's own pushing forward of a constitutional proposal this past fall in 2012. That was a massive overreach and frankly offensive to a lot of even their own members in the state of Michigan. Those factors and many, many more combined to create a really extraordinary opportunity in a state like Michigan that has been for so long perceived as dominated by the union movement.
Now, you mentioned those other battles in Wisconsin and Indiana. Obviously, we saw those play out over many months. What comes next in Michigan? What should we expect?
Well, I think the other side never gives up on these issues. The whole issue of freedom to work is interesting to me, why the union leadership fights for it so aggressively. One would think that they would immediately focus on trying to win the membership of their members and the fidelity of their members to continue to be a part of their union. But rather than trying to create member value, they immediately focus on switching to the public policy debate. How do we create an environment that forces members to become members of our union? It's quite surprising to me. But the developments in the other states really were extremely helpful in most respects to moving this issue forward. Certainly Indiana's movement was a big deal for Michigan, because the first time a state in the Midwest, in the industrial Midwest, that took this step, and that put Michigan at a potentially serious disadvantage for job creation and economic opportunity, much less a freedom deficit in Michigan that would be exacerbated with expanded freedom in Indiana.
You mentioned freedom, and you talked about that in your speech at Heritage. Why does this boil down to freedom for you?
We value the freedom to associate. We need to preserve and protect the right in America to disassociate. There are many members of the union movement, the members of unions, I should say, in Michigan, that have spoken to me and said, I'm a member because I have to be to keep my job. But I don't agree with the politics of the union. I don't like what the union leadership is doing. I don't like their rhetoric. I don't like the way that they're paying themselves. I don't like the way that the union's being run. I don't like the way they're wasting my dues. And I wouldn't be a member if I didn't have to be. So the freedom to disassociate is as important as the freedom to associate. We have to protect both, I believe.
Looking back on this victory and in the context of what was happening on a national scale with the re-election of President Obama, what advice do you have for conservatives going forward as they chart a new course?
One of our problems as conservatives is we tend to live in our heads. We have ideas and we live in the world of ideas and policy and thoughts. And our challenge is translating that into real lives of real people. We need to do a better job of not targeting here, but targeting here. We have to target at things that matter to people and speak to people in terms that they can understand what the implications are for them. If we're asking them to make a choice, we need to inform them about all the implications, intellectually and emotionally, to understand what it really means to them so they can make an informed decision. Our intellectual arguments are compelling, but we have got to connect with people. The Obama campaign, when it came right down to it, the deadly question was, which one do you trust? Which one of these two candidates do you think is better prepared to understand you and your needs and your interests? And I think that question is where the Republicans lost and where conservatives have got to do better.